Pepper Ann, much too cool for 7th grade. Pepper Ann, she's like 1 in a million.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Games That Made Us podcast. I'm Brent. I'm here with my friend Kirk. Say hi, Kirk.
Buenos dias, Pepper Anns.
Yes, those things.
You guys are like 1 in a million.
Oh. All right, hey, I wanted to ask, so other than our games that we're recording for, what have you been playing recently?
I've been playing a metric shit ton of Elden Ring.
Okay.
Even though it came out, I think it's a couple years old at this point. I have a massive Steam library, like a mile long, as most people do. Let's be real.
Well, when you can pick up games for $3 every couple months, like you do.
Yeah.
You do.
I think I'm pretty confident I bought it at like full price when it came out, with every expectation to jump in and play it. But
yeah, my
friends and I were huge into Destiny at the time, and we were playing that because it's always good to play with friends when you get the opportunity.
Sure.
And Elden Ring, while it can be a multiplayer game, it's not like really meant that way.
Yeah.
But since then, Bungie has absolutely shit the bed
Yeah.
with all the layoffs. And there's already many problems with that game, and a lot of things need to be fixed. And with all the layoffs and everything going on, now most of the community feels as if these problems will never get fixed now.
Right.
Especially with a lower amount of staff.
Yeah.
So the content to me in that game has just kind of taken a back seat. It's not the same anymore. My friends dropped off, which is fine. It happens. I've had that happen with many games, but it's given me an opportunity to play Spider-Man Remastered for PC.
Yeah, how is that?
Absolutely delightful in every way, shape, and form. It was the reason we pretty much have a PS4 in our house.
Right.
For that game, basically.
Yeah. It looks super fun.
But, of course, I'm part of PCMR,
Right.
May your frame rates be high and your temperatures low. So, I played almost exclusively all of it eventually on PC.
Sure.
100%ed it. 100%ed that game and all of its DLCs. I just started Miles Morales at the same time as Elden Ring. But with everything going on in my life, I just needed games where I could just dive into and just dump a few hours into at a time, and pretty much been my life. And of course, whatever you tell me to play. So so what have you been getting into?
So I've been on a really big Zelda kick. I was talking to somebody and they were like, when you did the Minish Cap blog post forever ago, you were really mean to it, basically. What didn't you like about that game? And I was like, that's a really good question. What didn't I like about Minish Cap? And so I went back and replayed that and burned through it, because it's a pretty short game. And I was like, I actually have no idea why I didn't like that game. That game was super dope. But I wanted something, after I finished replaying through Minish Cap, I wanted another like traditional top-down Zelda game. And I didn't want to go back to Link to the Past or the NES Legend. I wanted to try something new. And so I went and started picking away at Link Between Worlds, the 3DS top-down Zelda. That game owns. That game is so good. The merge into the wall mechanic combined with the Link to the Past map was so genius. Hey, we're going to take you back to this place that you're super familiar with. If you're an older player, if you're somebody who's been with the series since the beginning, and we're going to add this other dimension to it. We're going to add this new way of looking at and exploring the map.
Low rule.
Yeah, I really love. That's really cool. I've been playing a bunch of that. I'm about 2/3 to 3/4 the way through that, and then like Breath of the Wild, which I keep picking away at, it's beautiful. It's a really excellent experience, but it has a expectation of gameplay style that I don't love, which is it intends for you to digest the game, pick at a couple things, find a couple things here and there, and, then save out. Breath of the Wild wants you to have it be your game for a 3-month span. Yeah. And when you're somebody who has a couple kids, has a full-time job, like, I just want to finish the fucking game. I want to see the story. And it frustrates me so much because it clearly wants to be Skyrim, but Skyrim didn't feel urgent. None of those open world style games felt urgent to me. But when you start a game, it's like, oh, Link, Zelda's in prison. You have to go save her. Ganon's going to kill her. And there's a ticking time and you have to go do it now. You have to save our world. Okay, but like you can go fuck off to the wilderness if you want for like
some Lionels or something.
Yeah, just kind of whatever you want. Like there's no, and I'm like the ludonarrative dissonance of what the game wants to be as a game and what the story wants to be as a story is frustrating to me. But that said, it's super fun. Like I've had a great time with it. And the problem is now my 7-year-old has picked up with it. And so she wants to play it. And so now it's something that daddy and daughter can do together. So now I'll probably finish the game, even though it pisses me off.
Let's do an entire episode sometime of the newest Zelda games, because I played through both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
I need to
damn near 100%ed both of them. With the exception of getting all the Korok seeds, but if you do that, like
that's gonna be hundreds
of hours. You're a very bored individual if you do that.
Yeah, that's a pen protector.
Yeah, that's like
Zelda.
that's like the equivalent of getting all the flags in the original Assassin's Creed game. Just not that it's hard; it's just very time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I could talk about the newest Zelda games for hours, both good and bad things.
Yeah,
how I feel about that. So that's very interesting. I'd like to hear what your daughters end up saying about it too, because those Zelda games were such a huge impact on my childhood. The original ones, especially Link's Awakening. Like, I chewed up so many AA batteries in my Game Boy playing the original Link's Awakening. I could talk about that game forever.
We need to do something with Link's Awakening, because I finished it for the first time this year after bouncing off it a bunch, just because I never owned a Game Boy, so it was a little hard for me to get into. But once I got into it, I'm gonna say it is either tied for first or my second favorite game in that series now.
Right on.
Just because the narrative of that was so powerful. Like that was an excellent game.
What games are we talking about today?
Yeah, so talking of games that were super important to us as kids, and we're going to talk about Lost Vikings, and we're going to talk about Super Metroid. And there's going to be a question from some of our listeners as to why I didn't pick, because Kirk picked Super Metroid, I picked Lost Vikings. There's going to be a question as to why I didn't pick a Metroidvania game, and we'll get to that when we talk about Super Metroid, but I think what we should probably do is start with Lost Vikings, because it's the shorter experience, I think. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, just with the sheer scale of the games, I would say Lost Vikings by a wide margin.
Yeah. So let's start with Lost Vikings. So Lost Vikings is a 1993 game. It originally came out on the Super Nintendo. It was developed by a company called Silicon and Synapse, who later, and I think it's actually the next year, changed their name to Blizzard Entertainment. So this is the same company that did Warcraft, StarCraft, like that whole series. This is like their first big game. I mean, I guess it's a puzzle game is how we're going to describe it. It got ported to everything. It's on the Super Nintendo, it's on the Genesis, it's on the Amiga, and it really fits in on the Amiga because there's a couple different Amiga games that have this same vibe where you have multiple characters, each with one ability. And then you're presented with a level that's going to require the abilities of all of your characters to work through.
I really enjoyed how the very first level, how they teach you, oh, well, this guy, he runs and jumps or whatever. And during that time, they even tell you the names of each characters or each one of the characters. And then they never really say each other's names the rest of the time. So I forgot their names almost immediately. And then on top of that, their names aren't on the HUD anywhere either.
No.
So
it's Eric the Swift.
Yeah.
Olaf the Stout and Balog the Fierce.
Yeah.
I think is correct. My dad was obsessed with Olaf because he was just like, yeah, he's a fat Viking. I love him.
That all sounds 100% correct. But
yeah.
I mean, I forgot their names almost instantly. So in my head, when I'm like, when I need to switch back and forth depending on the situation, I was like, Stabby, Shield Boy, and Jumpy. And And then I'm like, and then in my own weird, stupid brain, I'm like, well, that's not fun enough. So I started calling him Hergen, Flurgen, and Durgan.
Wait, okay, all right. So who's Hergen?
Hergen is the jumpy boy.
Oh yeah, no, that fits.
Yeah, so like, and that's kind of how I place in my head. Someone comes like Hergen, and then Durgan was the dude with the dagger, or bow and arrow and dagger sword.
Yeah.
So, and then Flurgan, and that actually helped me because I kept forgetting the one with the shield can float or fly. So
yes,
calling him Flurgan,
right,
helped me because I forgot so many times that he could like float or fly. So Hergen, Flurgan, and Durgan.
We should run through real quick. So okay, so there's Eric. Eric the Swift can run very fast, which means he can jump. He can cross long distances with jumps. Everybody has like basically a primary and a secondary ability. And so his primary ability is he can run very, very fast, jump over things. His secondary ability is he can run very fast, put his head down, and smash walls. Then there's Olaf the Stout. He has a shield. His primary ability is you can use him to block attacks, but then he can also put that shield up over his head, and he can use it to slowly glide through areas. So if you need someone to basically be able to fly through an area, he can do that.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
And a heavy wooden shield with steel is apparently good parachute
Absolutely.
material.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as a paraglider.
Just like the real Vikings.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone knows the story of how the Vikings attacked England paragliding in on their shields.
Yeah, they just jumped off the highest cliff and just used their shields to glide over the ramparts.
They just did the Link Breath of the Wild thing, only from Norway, and it's so mountainous that they just got
change history forever.
Yeah, and then you've got I think it's Balog, the Fierce, and he has a bow and arrow, ranged attack, and a sword that no one ever uses for any reason, because why would you when he has a bow and arrow?
Exactly.
And then you also pick up items that you can use, bombs. You can also pick up food, which replenishes their health. There's keys. Usually they're color coded, so there's like a yellow, red, and blue key. I'm trying to think of any other. Oh, there's a shield that you can pick up that adds an extra point of health to the character. And then you can shift all those different items back and forth between your characters. Yeah. So it doesn't matter who picks them up. As long as they're within range, they can hand them off to somebody else.
So I really enjoyed the little tutorial, how they explain how each character works.
Yes.
So anyone who's never played the game, like, all right, well, this is what they do.
So I think we're noticing a theme with Brent's favorite games in that they're friendly and approachable to stupid people. Because at the very beginning, they're like, hey, dumbass, this is how you play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't complain too much about the characters themselves. Hergen, well, I don't know his name, whichever. The one who can jump. Hergen,
yeah.
Well,
no, I thought Flurgen was the one who could jump.
No, he's the one with the shield.
Okay, Hergen. Okay, so Eric, yes.
Yeah. So I felt like his controls were a little too loose.
Yes.
Like, imagine any ice level in any game ever, how you're slipping and sliding around.
Yes.
Sometimes that's how it felt controlling him, which I can't complain about because that's kind of how he was built to be. Like, He was supposed to be fast and then also be able to jump. But if they would have just made his sprite move faster or something, that would have made the control make a little more sense. Like, make his running sprite move faster as he's changing direction. It wouldn't have given that feel like he's slipping around on ice the whole time. That's not even a true criticism. Like, that's just how I felt. Well, and it's not as if it really broke the game for me or anything. I just thought it was just kind of annoying sometimes.
Well, and I feel like any game that involves platforming, like 2D platforming, that came out after Super Mario World, it's inexcusable that they didn't just copy paste the momentum physics from Mario in that game.
Yeah.
Because it's like perfection has already been created. Like play
stop reinventing the wheel.
Right. Play Super Meat Boy. Like that game came out 15 years after Mario World, and they were just, we'll just do the Mario World thing again.
Yeah, and those controls are tight.
And it's perfect. So yeah, no, I get that.
Well, what was annoying is the other characters move just fine, exactly how they should. I think what was just annoying to me is he runs fast, but his sprite doesn't appear to move relative to the speed he's going. So it's weird. Imagine like Sonic the Hedgehog doing his walking motion while he's running really fast. That's how it is with Hergen.
And I wonder if that's a function of this game being a multi-platform release right off the bat, because I wonder if they created the minimum number of frames of animation that the weakest system they were porting it to could handle. You understand? I mean, like, It's like, okay, well, what the Super Nintendo can handle X number of frames of animation per second or per frame. Let's build for whatever the weakest system is.
Yep. And that's apparent too, because none of the fucking levels have a background. The spaceship levels are the only ones who have any sort of, parallax background where...
Yeah, there's not much like parallax scrolling, so it actually looks like real motion. Like there's no depth of field. It's more like NES style backgrounds. It's
pitch black, and it annoyed the fuck out of me.
No, I mean, like the dinosaur levels aren't.
Yeah. So, and again, that's part of my criticisms. I feel like the first 3 levels were extremely polished, and were very well done. And you've already touched on this. And then it's like the last part, they're like, "Oh fuck, what do we do?"
Right. No, and
so like the first couple levels were great, and then even the one where they even break up the monotony too, where even though there may not have necessarily been a background, but it's like, oh well, you're in the forest, and then you're going to go to the cave, and then you're going to go to the forest and the cave. That is the only time they ever really do that.
Yeah.
But at least the other levels were colorful and bright enough where it broke up the monotony between each level.
Yeah.
But once you get past level 3, or the Egyptian level for people following along,
right?
Fuck that.
No.
Like the color palettes get gross and lazy. The mechanics are fucking stupid, and the levels take way too long.
Yeah.
And then even puzzling takes a backseat because you start realizing that a lot of the puzzles can be basically solved by just one person the entire fucking time. Yeah. So it was really unfortunate to see just that huge drop off. It's like whoever was developing it had an amazing idea. And maybe if they just had an extra few months, they could have really fleshed it out and it could have been awesome. But, oh, God. And then they were recycling music some of the time, too.
Yeah.
That, like the first couple of levels, the music was very whimsical and great. But then by the time I got to level 4, I'm like, I want to die.
Well, it goes so long. It's like what we were saying the other episode about Kirby's Dream Course. The music, I think, was good, but when you're stuck in one area for hours at a time, in some cases,
your fucking nose starts bleeding and your eyes go crossed.
Right, and it's like you need to have some way of breaking it up. The biggest offender for me is like there's the candy striped levels.
Like it's like they hit the button. There's like, yeah, this level, like, it's bad enough even in this level, all the backgrounds of course are jet black. Yeah, let's use brown and white for the color palette. And then like once the mechanic of that level too, with the air pump, how you inflate your characters, I no shit took off my headset once I saw that, and I put down the controller and just said, oh, fuck off. Out loud, I just walked away. I'm like, that's so... They really just didn't give a shit at a certain point. They just wanted to get the game done. I'm like, oh, fuck you. Like, this was something that it's really cool to, like, add a new mechanic in a game and make it whimsical and kind of match, but it did not fit this level, period. Yeah, they were just like, fuck it, this is something someone developed, and we have no idea where to put it.
No, there's no connection between, like, Candy Stripes and... blowing Eric up like a balloon and sending him into spikes.
And like with not even like an air compressor or whatever, it's like a fucking bike pump.
Yeah. You just bike pump
about. Jam this hose up your ass, hit this pump, inflate your body.
Oh, God.
I was really upset at this game at this point. Like, that's where I felt like it was a drop off. Like, already the level before that, which was kind of the industrial construction zone.
I will say
that I thought it was fun, but it's like they should have made it where only one person can control the crane.
Yeah.
But any one of them could control the crane, which I get it, because then, you need to figure out, well, which one controls the crane, because whoever goes across the I-beam or whatever that the crane is carrying needs to do a certain task. But still, it got to the point in the game where one character, it didn't matter who you chose, could beat an entire puzzle. It wasn't complex enough anymore. So then the whole construction zone thing and controlling the crane became completely monotonous because it didn't fucking matter who controlled the crane. You could send Hergen, Florgen, or Durgen across and it wouldn't matter. It would not matter.
It's basically Swedish Chef, the game. But no, I will say in the construction level, my favorite part is that when one of the characters like gets into the crane, they put on the little hard hat.
Yeah, that's so cute.
It's so cute. And I'm like, oh my god. The puzzles. There was an upper bound to the complexity. Like, okay. In our little like pre-show bit, we were talking about Link Between Worlds. And that game has these really inventive puzzles where you have to keep looking at the environment from different ways. You don't gain significant levels of new... You don't gain a lot of new skills as you go along because you have access to all of... Through Ravio's shop in the very beginning, you have access to basically all the skills that you're going to have. But the game's level design, the game's puzzle design, continues to progress. It gives you all the skills right up front. It doesn't introduce new mechanics necessarily, but it says, hey, you've learned how to use all your tools in this way. Now we're going to challenge you and force you to think about the skills that you already have in a new way further on. And Lost Vikings doesn't do that. Lost Vikings is like, no, we've run out of things to do with the skills you already have. We're going to introduce kind of a bullshit mechanic that is really only used right now.
And then, like, it's even more apparent when they use the same level theme from the very first level and then just added that to the very last level, too. I'm like, oh my god, really?
No, I like that, though. I like that they went back to Tomato
From a narrative standpoint, it made sense because everything came full circle. But I'm like, that's so fucking lazy at the same time. But that was across the entire game, how the button that Durgan needed to hit... Yeah, you're going to laugh every day. The bow and arrow guy, whatever.
Good old Durgan.
Good old Durgan. The button was always that color button, and it looked the same throughout the entire level. Where you had all these themes, well, why not make the button match the theme of that level? So when you're in the Egyptian level, why not have the button be like...
Instead of a bright red emergency button
that had no earthly business being in Egypt.
In a pyramid,
and the same thing, how at the end of the level there's a big bright fucking green exit sign,
right.
Like, can't you just have a tomb door or something, in the Egyptian level or the construction level, have just an elevator door, something that would actually match the theme of what the fuck was going on? That was rampant across the entire game, and it really annoyed the hell out of me.
Kind of like how you could walk across the Jurassic level and pick up bombs, because those would just be laying around with...
items like that, that's totally forgivable, though. I could look past that, but it's those little subtle things they could have done a lot better. And then once you get past all the music up till that point was unique, and it was specific for those levels.
Sure.
Once you get to the construction level, and then back to the spaceship, which just reuses the same music from level 1, it's it gets really repetitious, and it gets very annoying.
Music. The level 1 music is so good.
It was great. I fucking loved it until I heard it for 2 hours straight.
Sure.
And my fucking eye exploded out of my socket in rage. I no shit at one point had to mute the fucking game because it was driving me crazy.
One of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this game is because it's a game I love, and I think it's visually it's really charming. The music, I think, is really good if, as we were saying, it can be a little repetitious.
That was interesting, you bringing up its art style and the sound, because in my notes, I literally said it was very Toe Jam and Earl-esque as far as sound and, design. Any time, the entire time, I felt like it was a precursor to Toe Jam and Earl Panic on Funkatron, but with puzzles or whatever. It's kind of how I felt.
But it is flawed, and I think those games are more fun to talk about than we could sit here and gush about how great Ocarina of Time or Symphony of the Night or whatever is for an hour, and that would be fun. But I think everybody knows those games already. Everybody knows how great those games are. There's not anything to criticize, and there's not really, I mean, there are, but there's not really anything to like have a back and forth about. I think that's one of the reasons why I like talking about games like this and games like Captain Skyhawk and like games that have more quirks where you're like, what the fuck were they thinking actually?
Like, and don't get me wrong, I still like the game. I'm happy I played it.
Yeah.
But what could have made a game that, like, I'm not saying this is my, like, official score of it, but, like, what could have made a 4 out of 10 easily a 6 out of 10 is just rearranging some of the levels, especially if you're a development company who knows these levels weren't fleshed out. Those last 3 levels lasted so fucking long.
Yes.
And the music it really got annoying. And then the color palettes were so similar. At least the construction level had like orange and like blue.
Yeah.
Like if you take a step back, I think even people are like colorblind and shit. Like
yeah.
It would be like it's the same thing.
Yeah. No, and yeah, I mean I think you said it perfectly. Like it was so obvious in that game that they had a great idea and then they kind of ran out of steam about halfway through. And I do think it's so funny because if you look at early Blizzard, you can really see this was them putting their toes in the water. Mm-hmm. Them like kind of getting the idea. You can see where there's some really talented people working there. You can see where they're able to come up with some really good concepts, but it's still rough. Kind of a beta draft of what was to come with like mid to late 90s Blizzard. We're not up to StarCraft yet. Yeah. This is definitely an early revision. That's why I wanted to talk about this one. I think it's a really fun game, but it definitely has some rough edges. And then I wanted to talk... I loved that you wanted to talk about Super Metroid, and I want you to introduce it. And then I have a little bit before we kind of get into this, because I want people to understand why I was so excited to talk about this. And I also want my thoughts on the record so that when I say something later that people are going to be mad at, I can point back and say, no, I said exactly what I meant to say earlier. So, Kirk, Super Metroid.
Yeah, so Super Metroid came out in 1994. It takes place directly after the events of Metroid 2. I honestly never played that one. It was just a Game Boy game.
Yeah.
I really don't know anyone, like personally any of our friend group who's ever played Metroid 2.
Yeah.
But everyone I know has played Super Metroid.
Right.
And it really set the standard for what's now referred to Metroidvania games.
Yeah.
You play as Samus as you do in the Bounty Hunter like you would in all the other Metroid games
as you do.
To this day.
Yeah.
And... I mean, to put it simply, you go around and you try to find power-ups wherever they're at to overcome certain obstacles or puzzles, if you want to put it that way, to get to the next area, to get the next piece of equipment or the next item you need to then get past another obstacle or puzzle, go from there. Yeah. And it's very big, it's very open world. If there's the closest comparison to a modern-day game that anybody would need let's just say you've never had a Super Nintendo or you never played anything like that.
Right.
But maybe you've played some modern games. Hollow Knight is going to be the very next closest thing.
Yep.
They're all damn near identical.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah.
You don't have access to everything right away, but you need to find whatever it is you need to access that area.
That gets us where we need to be. And I want to have a moment to talk about my history, not just with this game, but kind of with this genre. And I want to start with, there's no reason I shouldn't love this game. Mm-hmm. This should be my favorite game. The music is fantastic, and that's a huge thing, like we've talked about in this whole podcast, is the music being strong in a game is such a huge factor for me in terms of how much I identify with it. Yeah. And Super Metroid has some of the best mood setting and world building music. it really reminds me, and actually this whole game really reminds me more of the best of Konami rather than the best of Nintendo. I'm always shocked that Metroid is a Nintendo franchise because it's such a moody, dark, creepy franchise. And you've got that, and then you set that next to fucking Kirby, right? Like,
yeah, happy, bubbly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I actually was researching this earlier, and I found out that the director for this game has worked on almost all of the Metroid games. His other franchise that he's worked on for Nintendo is WarioWare. And I'm like, talk about the most schizophrenic of careers.
Yeah.
Like, we're going from dark, creepy Metroid to the goofiest, dumbest shit.
Spastic fucking
WarioWare.
Yeah, pencil drawing nonsense.
Right. Pick his nose. It's great.
Don't let that fist in the sky smash you.
It's great music. The visuals are fantastic. If you put a widescreen hack and some difficulty options on Super Metroid and stuck it up on Steam right now, it would be in the top 5 of everything. Like it's a
really, I think if you just put Super Metroid Steam, it's going to be like the top seller for a very long time.
Right. It's a beautiful game. The controls I have some issues with, and that's
fair. Now, is an issue with the controls or an issue with the ability and then using the controls to activate said abilities?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's a great game. Right off the bat, it's a great game. And I fucking hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate this game. And it's not just this game. I hate this genre. And before people come after me and be like, he doesn't get it, he's only playing... The games in this genre that I've played the original Metroid, the NES Metroid. I've played AM2R, the fan remake of Metroid 2, which is it's really good if you like Metroid games. AM2R is great. I've played this. This is the first one I've completed of this list, so I'll say that. I've played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I've played Circle of the Moon. I've played Hollow Knight, and I've played Ori and the Blind Forest. Those are the classic Metroidvanias that I've played. I've put at least 3 hours into.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a great list, by the way.
I've given this genre every opportunity. And the problem is that my brain is broken and bad. I cannot for the life of me navigate a 2D space in this way. If you give me a Zelda game, and we had talked about briefly how, in my opinion, the top-down Zeldas are basically the same genre as Metroidvania, other than a change in perspective, because you're doing the same things. You're going out, you're acquiring skills or items to enable you to access parts of the map that you hadn't previously been able to access to further your quest, right? And the only difference really is that in Metroidvanias, you typically don't have safe spaces. You typically don't have like village sections. Although with that said, in Hollow Knight, you do.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do.
Right. So some Metroidvanias, you do have that. There's something about that shift from like a top-down or 3D type environment to a 2D platformer style that breaks my ability to navigate the space. If it is a 2D space, I need it to be level-based. And I can just go.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I've spent so much time with this game. This is probably, I'm going to guesstimate, this is my 30th time coming to this game. It's the first time I've ever beaten it. And by God, I'm so fucking proud of myself that I beat this fucking game. Because it is a millstone that has hung around my neck for 30 years. And it's dead. And I killed it. And I never have to come back to it again. But it is, I recognize it's a me problem.
No, one of the things I was hoping to interject is your brain isn't broken. There are a lot of people who feel that way.
Right.
My wife is one of these people who, when it comes to the Metroidvania, or really a lot of classic platforming, even like Mario,
yeah,
They just don't like it. But she'll play, I think right now, or she was playing like Fae Farm, which has a lot of 3D platforming, does not have a problem with it at all. But if I were to give her Super Metroid, she'd just throw the controller at me and call me an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Some people, everybody has that niche of games they like and games that their brain, no matter how hard they try, they're just never going to get. And that's fine. I'm the same way with, well, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure,
it's okay. It's okay that you suck at a thing. I can't think of anything that I'm bad at.
That is just going to drive me crazy like that. Like I can't. I'm sure there is. I just can't think of it right now off the top of my head. But no, I wanted to point out. No, you are absolutely not alone. You are not broken.
Yeah.
Like some games people get, some games people don't get, and that's fine.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, if you really wanted me to have an example, I'm pretty sure, like I saw on Steam, it was a top seller, Sex with Hitler. I'm pretty sure I'll just never understand or get that game.
I don't know. That sounds kind of hot.
Like, like I'm just
I'd give it a shot.
Yeah.
It'd be like a hate fuck, though.
Like,
it's a punishment.
No, you're not broken.
Yeah.
And you're well within your right to be like, I don't get it. This is dumb. I'm glad it's dead.
Yeah.
Because there are parts that frustrate the hell out of me. If you've ever gone through and tried to do like 100% playthrough where you get literally every missile power-up, every bomb power-up, some of those, how the fuck was anybody ever supposed to discover this ever?
Right.
And then the level of difficulty to even make it happen is insane.
Yeah.
Like, there's a section where they try to teach you to do the wall jump. I couldn't fucking do that to save my life in my younger years. Even as an adult, doing it today still pisses me the fuck off. And I just will, like, refuse to do it.
Yeah.
So there's problems with it, but there's also good things with it, too.
Yeah. Well, and do you want to kind of give your history with the game and, like, where you came to it and stuff?
Oh, fucking just like everybody else who had a Super Nintendo, most people owned Super Mario World and then Super Metroid.
Right.
That was just, well, and Mario Kart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, if you had a Super Nintendo, there was a set of games everybody owned.
And Jeopardy. Everyone owned Jeopardy for the Super Nintendo.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Yeah, Jeopardy.
I was so excited. My parents brought that home one day. They were like, we bought a Super Nintendo game. And I was like, holy fuck, holy shit, we're going to have a third Super Nintendo game. And they're like, yeah, it's Jeopardy. And I'm like, I hate you guys so much.
He did that just to watch the light drain from your eye. Like, we need to see someone's hopes die today.
Let's see his childhood die. That'll be so much fun.
Even though in my house, like, we had a Sega Genesis.
Right.
Like, we were that family who had the Genesis instead of the Super Nintendo. But, I mean, it was kind of like the households who had, like, N64s versus PlayStations eventually, too.
Yeah.
And not a big deal. But a lot of my friends had Super Nintendos, so I was exposed.
I was the only kid who had a Nintendo 64. And I had a Nintendo 64 well into the PS2 era. That was my console.
Gotcha.
And so that was, Anyway.
So my exposure was, I'd spend the night at various friends' houses as we did in Nowheresville.
Yeah.
And everyone either had, at that time, a Genesis or a Nintendo or Super Nintendo, whatever. But Super Metroid was always there.
Yes.
And not only that, a lot of us would wait to play it until there's other people in the room.
Oh,
so you could help. So you could help each other figure it out. Where it's just like, all right, and we had hand-drawn maps too, so we didn't always have to bring the map menu, and we keep track of where we found items. So instead of backtracking, thinking, oh, well, maybe we missed something, it's like, well, no, you didn't, because on our little hand-drawn, we have a little X, like, well, you already found. Apparently, it's marked with an M, so you found a missile power up in this room. So there's literally nothing else in at least this square that you can find anything. And the only other game where we ever really did that, of course, was Ocarina of Time.
Nice.
Where a lot of us would wait until we got together so there was more heads in one room to figure out how to get past the next part.
But
that was like the first game that really made us do that.
Yeah.
So we sunk a lot of hours and a lot of 2 liters of Mountain Dew and Cheetos and Doritos and whatever.
Right.
Just up until 2 a.m, just like, how do we get the fuck out of Brinstar or whatever it was, or the pirate ship or whatever, just trying to figure it out. Like, what are we missing? What are we doing wrong? And going back and forth across the entire map. And it's like, no, you fucking idiot. We were just there. You didn't see anything. You're crazy. You're all hopped up on sugar. You didn't know what you saw.
You're hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Yeah, that was our exposure. In my younger years, I never actually beat it. It wasn't until later on in like college when I had friends that just brought their Super Nintendos from home or whatever, we would play it and try to beat it. But at least that day, internet was way more prevalent.
Right.
And game FAQs had every answer you'd ever need and still kind of does this day.
So you say that.
Okay.
All right.
But then I'd finally beat it in those years, and then I beat it again as an adult. I think I got Super Metroid for like my 3DS or something.
Yeah.
Then I beat it again there.
I've attempted this game so many times and keep bouncing off it, and this and Symphony of the Night too. And it's really frustrating to me because this game specifically has like everything that would make it feel like it should be a Brent game. Like it's a 2D game, it's a Super Nintendo game, which is my favorite console of all time. You know, Nintendo first party, it's creepy, it's got great music, it's got great visuals, it's got this like Giger-esque, the original Alien style art and vibe that I really love.
It's like a cartoonized alien movie, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, down to the fact that Ridley is one of the bosses,
and the aliens that hold the power up look like the Prometheans or whatever.
Yes,
series.
Yeah, the space jockeys. Yeah, like it's very clearly trying to be Nintendo's take on an alien video game. It should be my favorite game, and it's kind of haunted me that it's not. And so I keep returning to it, and I keep beating my head against the wall with it. And so this time, when you brought it up, I was like, fuck yeah, like this will be the motivation I need.
Catharsis.
Yes, I can. Hal Jordan.
I can shit on this game once and for all. Like, yeah. I beat it, so I have the credence to just destroy this piece of shit.
Just gonna lay a big, fat, steamy dump on Sakamoto's fucking chest at the end of this.
Yeah.
No, so... because that's a normal thing to want.
Yeah.
I told myself I'm going to put 2 hours in, and if I haven't kind of gotten my feet, I'll go through, I'll read the manual, and then I'll pull up a guide. And I'll walk through the game. I'm just going to beat the goddamn game. However I have to beat the game, I'm going to beat the game. So I got 2 hours in, and I was like, yeah, I'm still in fucking Criteria. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. Like, I'm just wandering in circles, killing fucking the little fly monster guys.
Over and over again.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is exactly as hateful as I remember. So I pulled up, like the fucking chump I am. I was just like, well, Google will know. And so I did a Super Metroid walkthrough. Click. Top result is the IGN guide. Mm-hmm. And I should know better than to trust anything those fucking hacks have on their website. But I didn't. I clicked on it and I was like, well, I'll follow the IGN guide. And the IGN guide has you get, by the end game, by the time you meet Mother Brain, you only have 6 energy tanks. I have no idea what they were smoking. It's a terrible guide. It's clearly written by somebody who has... This is just going to turn into me dunking on IGN's walkthrough of Super Metroid, but it's clearly written by somebody who English is like their 4th or 5th language. And then they AI translated it from, Hindi or whatever.
For what it's worth, just real quick, because I know you're playing Breath of the Wild, IGN's interactive map for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, very, very good.
Oh, fair enough.
So if it sucks for Super Metroid, that totally cool, but don't turn off IGN altogether when it comes to
okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Elden Ring, I'm playing that right now. Their interactive map I think is way better than just like the Elden Ring wiki map. So,
okay, all right, yeah. That's fair enough.
But I'm with you. I have used their maps, and they're just like a dumpster fire, and clearly written by somebody who was just like, I need to get this done to meet my quota, so I get my paycheck.
No, and it was great because when you get to Deep Norfair, when you come back to Norfair after Meridia, it's even got a thing where it's like, sorry guys, this was written by a different person, and so it assumes that you're in a totally different part of the game, but we didn't have a Deep Norfair walkthrough, so we just put it here. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
You didn't want to put it in the proper place? Like, while you're writing this, you didn't think maybe I should go back and edit it?
But so anyway, I did finally get through the game, and I have some notes. And the first is that I'm not somebody who picks up on game mechanics quickly, as we've now talked about.
Yeah.
On every episode.
Yeah, a lot of games you completely miss and
huge parts of the game.
Huge mechanics for 30 years.
And this game gives you no hints. It's just like, you have this thing now. You should learn how to use it.
They make a lot of assumptions that you've played the earlier games. They really do.
Right.
Like, you already know what the ball does. You already know what the missile does.
And I figured it out either from the manual for the game, and then I read the walkthrough. The walkthrough was literally just go here, go there, go there.
Right.
It didn't explain any of the mechanics. I did figure most of it out, but then you get to Meridia, and Meridia is all jumping. It's all wall jumping or space jumping or screw attack.
Yeah.
It's the second to the last.
Yeah, once you have screw attack, you don't need anything else in the game.
Right. No, for sure.
I just wanted to say that because I feel like all of our fan is just like, yeah.
All of our fan. It completely changes the expectation of what you're supposed to be doing as the player. From, you need to be on the lookout, you need to be looking for places where you can be morph balling and bombing and trying to like use those abilities, to now it's just a jumping game. Meridia, it's like, no, now we've decided it's a pure platformer. Welcome to Super Meat Boy, the Metroid edition.
Yeah. Your grapple hook, fuck that. No.
Yeah, the hour or two that you spent learning how to use that, fucking, you don't need that anymore. Yeah. Nope. Now you're just gonna fucking spin jump across everything. And I'm like, that's great. I don't know how to do that. And so I spent, goddamn, a full day. Fucking jump button, jump button, jump button, jump button, jump button. And it would, like, I could never quite get the timing down on anything.
That's rough.
This fucking sucks. The game is an exploration-based platformer, right? And I don't have the whatever brain gene you need for the exploration because
it's just called a Metroidvania.
Right. Right.
It's exploration based, like it's like some sort of Metroidvania.
Also, why is it called a Metroidvania when Metroid came out 10 years before Symphony of the Night?
Because, well, I was going to just say, like, fuck you, but then I'm like, oh, wait, I actually have an explanation for this. Because the later games, like Metroid Prime, deviated away from that platform.
Those were like FPS games, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Metroid really didn't come back to that until way later.
Right.
But then Castlevania started doing that.
Sure.
And it was popular enough where other games were copying it too, and I don't think that there was a consensus where, like, who was truly the popular creator of this, considering Metroid had moved away from it at the time, and Castlevania started moving towards it.
Right.
So it just started. I think they just combined them.
So people were like, rather than coming up with a name for this genre that actually makes sense, let's take the names of two game series that neither of them are actually 100% this genre.
Well,
it's like,
I challenge you to give the genre a name.
Yeah. Okay. Search action. Puzzle platformer.
Damn it, that's good. Yeah. Like, oh man, I thought I was gonna have you that. No, you got me. Who's better? Who's better?
Right.
No, you got me. I thought I was gonna be able to stump you with that one. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's my bad. Who's better?
The switch in Meridia to everything being based on your skill with the timing on the jumps. And I will say, I want to go back and I want to play this on original hardware because I emulated this game.
No,
and
you bastard.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All the little southern ladies dropped their fans.
Yeah. Everything I know is a lie.
Nintendo sends somebody to the fucking house and fucking break down the door. They carry my kids away.
They're like covering your kids', they're like covering your kids' eyes. They're just like, don't look at him. He's a monster.
He played a 30-year-old game without asking first. But no, I think so. I emulated this game, And so I do wonder if that half second of input delay made a difference in terms of the jump timing.
Modern hardware, I would say no. Unless you're using Bluetooth, then you can make an argument. But if you had like a modern Xbox controller hardwired in, then you're fine. You're not missing it.
I realize that doesn't make good podcasting. Let me point at things for you.
No, he's holding your traditional Xbox controller.
Yeah, I've got a 360 controller.
A 360 controller hardwired in, and honestly, that's probably the controller most people use anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it is
plug and play.
It's the best.
Yeah,
we should do a controllers episode. I love controllers.
Yeah, I love talking about that.
Yeah, talk about how the Saturn controller is objectively the best controller.
I feel as if a lot of people have actually copied the Saturn controller.
Yeah. I think if you slapped two analog sticks on the Saturn controller and released it right now with 2.4G, I would cream my pants and buy 6 of them. Yeah,
and you would have something pretty close to the modern like Xbox Elite controller.
Yeah. But I love the 6. I love the 6 instead of the 4 face buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me is like that's better, especially for fighting games. I'm sorry, we're off track.
No, that's fine.
Metroid. I have one more thing that I want to cover. Well, actually, 2. First off, the Brinstar music is fucking amazing.
I want to talk about music too. So.
Yeah, can we talk? Let's talk about music.
Yeah, so obviously amazing. Was it Kenji?
Yeah, so it's Kenji Yamamoto.
But he would go on to do the Metroid music for a lot of the games after, like, I think Metroid Prime and the trilogy.
Yeah. And he did all the Metroids, and he did Mike Tyson's Punch Out too. Cool.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But it's probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all time of any game. If not my top favorite, definitely in the top 5. In fact, it's gonna kill me, but I can't remember the name of the song right now, but it was even my ringtone in college for the longest time. It lives rent-free in my head still to this day. A lot of the music in that game does, but obviously that shows just how much I loved it because it was my ringtone. And as a grown adult, my phone's on silent all the time.
Yeah,
any important notifications just goes to my watch.
Why don't we do ringtones anymore, man? That was so much fun.
Because we're all at that point where we've used cell phones enough where we're jaded. We fucking hate it when people are on public transit and you hear their goddamn ringtone going off, or you could be standing in line at a gas station, you hear someone's ringtone, you're immediately like, what an asshole.
Right.
Like, just put it on vibrate or silent like a normal person.
Oh my god. Well, and everybody
movie theaters or
everybody
whatever.
has the same fucking T-Mobile default ringtone now. And so I always go to my phone when
and then there's that extra little pilt of just fuck you, because there's so many people who are in public speaking into their phone while it's on speakerphone. It's like, that thing has a fucking earpiece on it.
Right.
You don't need to be on speakerphone.
Right.
Talking to it the way you were meant to talk into it. They have that dumb
hold it flat.
Yeah, hold it flat like they're about to fucking eat a slice of pizza. And then sorry.
and then they took a bite out of their phone. It was very strange. No, I don't want a home warranty.
But it's like, why speak into your phone that way? It makes no
right.
You're defeating the entire purpose of that phone. Oh my god. What were we talking about? Metroid.
Music and Super Metroid.
But it shows just how much I love that putting a ringtone on a phone was very difficult.
Right. Yeah.
20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, there was entire, like, it wasn't just something you could go and download or whatever. Like,
right.
No,
you had to chop it into a fucking file.
Get a source and then chop it and then transfer it over your phone, then tell your phone to point.
It was great. I had like 8 of them that I had made. It was so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we were in college and we had nothing better to do with our time.
So the music was fantastic.
Yes.
And still is. And some of my favorite. What were you going to say about that?
It's so good at setting a mood. Earlier in the day, we were at a bar nearby and we were talking with a gentleman there about how the movie Alien, the first 20 minutes are so quiet and so eerie, and they build so much suspense and so much mood and atmosphere that as creeped out as you are, you just kind of want to live in that space. Like, you just want to inhabit that world. It has this vibe. And the thing that I love about this, and the reason why I compared it earlier, why I said this really feels more like a Konami game than a Nintendo game, is so many of Konami's games do this. Super Metroid, the music and the visuals combine to create this mood. And you just want to kind of inhabit that space. I just wanted to kind of live in Brinstar. It was so creepy and dark, and I'm a very, at heart, still just like a big fat emo kid. And that space was just so cool. It did such heavy lifting because this game is very story light. Like, it has that opening cinematic, if we're going to call it that, the opening cutscene that does kind of catch you up to date on what the first Metroid and the second Metroid games had as far as story. But I mean, it's really like, 5 minutes of like, hey, here's what you missed. And then that's the last dialogue that you really get in the game. But the music and the visuals do so much heavy lifting in getting you invested in this world.
Yeah.
And that's a hard trick to pull off, and this game does it really, really well.
Yeah, because with the limited technology, they really had to tell the story and set the mood through music. Because sometimes even the environment they weren't able to do it properly because, again, the limits of technology, where maybe you didn't have the proper color palettes, or maybe if you went into too much detail, you'd run out of memory. So they had to dial back on that. But they had music and a composer talented enough to really give you a sense of either mystery or dread or fear or awe or whatever it happens to be, just with what they had available. And I really think they nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's my issues with the game were way more my issues than the game's issues. It's one of those things where
everyone's gonna have issues. Like,
sure.
Again, like I said earlier, like, fuck wall jumping. I hated that.
Oh my god. Yeah. But as much as I don't think I'm probably gonna return to this game, I did appreciate the experience. I absolutely can see why this is a game that spawned, because I would argue this is the game that spawned this whole genre that we're still returning to over and over and over again. If you look at Steam's library, like if you go on the Steam store right now and just, filter by 2D, half of the new games that are being released are blatant copies of either this or Symphony of the Night. I mean, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why this game launched one of the most popular genres of video games, and it's because it's fantastic. It's got tight controls, it's got great music, it's got great visuals, and it's got that really addictive game hook. And if you're coming to it from a place of, I want to get lost in this world and I want to spend time finding these secrets, and I'm comfortable with this style of map, it's going to be one of your favorite games.
Yeah, it definitely has something magical about it. Because, like you were pointing out, like, it's still around.
Yeah. Like,
you can build, a AAA game, best graphics, best physics engine, available, and build an amazing game to modern standard. But why is it these simple Metroidvania 2D platformers, why are they still around and still making a shit ton of money? And why are some of them still some of the best games around? Because there's just something about them, I think.
Yeah, why is Microsoft pumping money into the Ori franchise?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining in our shit show.
Yeah.
That we've had tonight. And next time when somebody offers me a shot of barrel-proof whiskey before I'm going to record a podcast, I'm going to politely tell them yes, please, and still record a shitty episode.
Yeah, say yes, please, and God bless America or whatever.